Welcome to Doing the Dang Thing podcast. I am your host, Jill Schmeeding, and this podcast is all about helping everyday women play big and aspire for more. Welcome to episode 40. I just wanted to hop on the mic this week and talk to you about another way to play big in your life. And I kind of think that playing big in life can take on many different forms. It looks different for everyone, as I've said many, many times. Does that make sense to you guys when I say it looks different for everyone? I mean, I'm wondering, when was the last time you played big and you got outside of your comfort zone? Sorry, is that like a silly question? Got outside your comfort zone? But that is why we're all here, right? Is to get the strength to get outside of your comfort zone, right? Okay, now my next question for you is, did you hear them? Did you hear them in my opening intro? All of the undermining speech habits that I used intentionally? That is what we're going to go through on today's episode, is all of the ways in which we as women undermine our speech through different phrases or sayings. And I'm going to go through them today because I'm very guilty of using these. But when I read Tara Moore's book, Playing Big, years ago, I took her advice. I chose one to work on, and I've been working on it ever since. So we're going to go through everything. Stick with me today. I think this is going to be another great episode that is going to benefit your life and help you play big with your speech. Okay, so going back to my intro, I started out with saying I just wanted to hop on this mic. It makes it sound like I don't know what I'm talking about or I'm unsure of myself. I just wanted to hop on this mic and talk to you about another way to play big. In reality, what I should have done is say, I wanted to hop on this mic and tell you about another way to play big in your life. That sounds a little bit more compelling and like I know what I'm talking about, and I'm not second guessing myself. The second undermining phrase that I used is kind of. I kind of think that playing big in life can take on many different forms. Kinda and just, those are two types of hedge phrases that women can use in their speech that sound undermining. Does that make sense? Does that make sense when I asked you if playing big looks different and takes on different forms? Looks different for everybody? I said, did that make sense? Now, this is one that I still use to this day. I just used it today at work with someone because it is just one that I'm having such a difficult time letting go of, and it's driving me crazy, but at least I'm aware of it. And so, does that make sense? Is a qualifying phrase, and we're going to dive into these a little bit deeper, but for the most part, just take note. It's a qualifying phrase. When I say, does that make sense? Actually, I'm going to dig into it right now. When I say, does that make sense? It really comes across as me undermining, thinking that I did not say something in a way that the listener or the person I'm talking to would understand it, rather than saying I'm explaining something that's complex and maybe they don't understand it all the way, but it's not because I didn't explain it in a way that they could understand it. Does that make sense? Yeah, I had to throw that one in there. But anyways, we'll talk about it a little bit more in the episode, but I want to continue going through my intro. Another thing that I said, sorry, is that a silly question when I asked you the last time you got out of your comfort zone? So the word sorry is an apology. Sorry, but is something that we say quite a bit, and it is definitely undermining. Take note if that's a word that you use. And the last thing that I did in my intro was uptalk, which I'm sure all of you have heard before. It's when you end a sentence by raising your tone of your voice. And I did it in my intro when I was just like, when was the last time you got out of your comfort zone? Isn't that why we're all here to get the strength to get out of our comfort zone? Right? That's uptalk. And it's definitely something that makes you sound like you're undermining yourself. Okay, you're probably wondering, why do women do this? Why do women do this in the first place? It's a great question, and she goes through it quite well in chapter 8, Communicating with Power, in the Playing Big book. She talks about women that want to be perceived as warm but also competent. Women that need to be perceived as warm and competent. And how many of you out there need to be competent or want to be seen as being competent in your job, but you also need to be seen as warm? Because if you came across just as competent, people would think you're being bitchy or bossy or too aggressive. And so you have to use or choose to use some of these phrases to come across as being more warm. She talks about it in her book, and I just want to read this because she says it so well. There are 2 reasons why we use these sort of speech patterns. The first one is contagion. How we hear other girls and women talk, we mimic because we think feminine behavior is supposed to sound and look like this, right? The second one is the double bind, the well-documented phenomenon that women are perceived as competent or likable, but not both. When women use these speech patterns, they're often doing so in an attempt to lessen their perceived competence so that they come across as more likable. I just mentioned that not too long ago. Many women feel they won't be heard or received well without these qualifiers: undermining structures, apologies, and hedges. Many women feel they won't be heard or received well without using these. That is so sad. So sad. And she talks about it in her book and does a great job of going through some examples as well of women that she has worked with personally that say, hey, this is what I have to do at my job. This is what happens if I don't use these, qualifying phrases. And this is how I'm perceived. And so women are caught between a rock and a hard spot. What do you do? Well, she does give some great examples in the book on how you could come across as being warm and competent. Some of those examples are through bids of connection she talks about. And I'm going to go through this briefly as well. This whole chapter is packed full of information, and I don't want to get into the weeds on this because I do encourage you, if you like what I'm talking about, and you like listening to this podcast episode, Playing Big by Tara Moore is a book that you should own. It should be on your bookshelf because it has, like I said, changed my life for the better. Everything in this book is something that you're going to work on, I think, for the rest of your life. You're never going to be perfect. And so I just really, really encourage you to go out there and check it out and get it on your bookshelf. And I'll have a link in the show notes, an Amazon link. Nothing that I get any compensation for, but obviously Amazon is just super easy to buy from. So I will put that in the show notes for you. However, back to it. Bids of connection. So this is how you can convey warmth, trustworthiness, and friendliness. She talks about a bid for connection is anything and everything designed to promote or restore a feeling of connection and solidarity between 2 people. We can expand this definition to include actions between one person and a team or group as well. So for example, small talk at the opening and closing of a meeting, asking people how they are doing and what's going on in their lives, inquiring about someone's work project in a warm, friendly way, or making jokes. And she also goes into, and this is what I love a lot, is body language, right? Powerful ways of communicating warmth is often through our nonverbal body language. And she does mention just some other things as well about the body language, which I won't get into it, but I want to just give you one example. It's just obviously like if you're sitting next to someone, you can lean in like you're really listening to what they're having to say, or you can turn and make sure that your body is facing their body, versus maybe not facing them would be the opposite, I guess. But anyways, yeah. So leaning in is something that I do all the time when I listen to people. Plus, I just feel like restaurants are so loud and the music is so loud in restaurants nowadays that you do have to almost lean in to make sure that you're hearing the person across the table from you. But that is a great non-verbal way to communicate that you're listening, warmth, and you're trustworthy and you're friendly. Okay, so application time. How can you change? How can you change the way you communicate so that you can come across as being warmth but competent as well? Well, one at a time. One at a time. And I will say this, years ago, we're talking before COVID, I read the Playing Big book. And in this chapter, she talks about the word just. I chose the word just to be the word that I wanted to take away from my vocabulary or to take out of my vocabulary. Now, whenever I'm at work and I'm typing an email and I say, I just wanted to reach out to you, I'm just calling, or I just called to left you a message. I always delete 4 times and I remove the word just from my email. And I have to admit, when I read the sentence, I just called to leave you a message because of the, or if I read the sentence, I called to this, you know what I'm saying? I called and left you a message. It does. It makes a big difference, makes a huge difference. And so I would encourage you, like Tara Moore talks about in her book, choose one of these qualifying phrases, these undermining speech patterns. And figure out which one that you want to use and remove it from your written and your verbal communication. And those words, again, are just, or I'm just curious. That's another phrase. Actually, kind of, almost, or excessive apologizing, a little bit, just a minute, up talking, substituting a question for a statement, and does this make sense? The number 2 way of getting, better ways to communicate is to get a buddy, get an accountabilitist. Get an accountabilitist? Yeah, that's actually me, the accountabilitist. I meant get an accountability partner. Somebody you can team up with, whether that be a friend or a colleague, and talk to them about the undermining habits that you use, share what kind of commitments you want to make, and then they can help you with your progress, right? And like I said, my nickname is the accountabilitist because I do want to be your accountability partner on helping you play big in your life. And this is, again, another way for you to play big. The 3rd way is record yourself. Oh my God. When I was in Toastmasters, which is all about public speaking, I absolutely recorded my speeches. That is the best way to see every single thing you're doing right. And some of the things, every single thing actually, you're doing wrong. I wanted to be more positive with that statement, but everything, recording yourself is the best way. And it will help you hear how you communicate. When you're talking or giving a presentation, like I said, when you're practicing a presentation, I'm still a work in progress. I still definitely make a lot of mistakes. And if you go back, now that you've heard this episode, all the future episodes from here on out, or all the past episodes, you're going to be like, wow, Jill has a long ways to go because she is always undermining herself, is the way I probably feel, but it's not true. And we're all a work in progress. And the last way is keep being yourself. Now, this is the one I absolutely love because I am in love with authenticity, being myself. We are all so unique. We communicate in unique ways, and this is not about changing the way that you communicate. This is just about improving it so that when you do speak, you come across as being the competent woman that you are. And so just keep being yourself and do not be afraid to take up space. Do not be afraid to take up space. I really want to thank you for tuning in today to episode Playing Big with Your Speech. Tara Moore has such amazing things to say in this book. I highly encourage you to go get your copy, and whatever way you choose to help improve your speech, whether that be a buddy system or recording yourself, just remember, keep being yourself. Keep being your true self. Keep playing big and aspiring for more. You've got this. Take care, everyone.